Hi, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about the classroom management styles. Now, there are four classroom management styles that are based off of clinical psychologist Diana Baumrin's parenting style. She helped define these parenting styles, and these parenting styles were based off of the amount of control and involvement for parenting of the child and parent, but this is now for the student and the teacher. Now, there could be more and less teacher control and more and less student involvement. Now, these four styles are authoritative, authoritarian, indulgent, and permissive. Now, we're going to go into what each style means, what it does, how much involvement, student involvement it has, how much teacher control that it has. We're going to go into the pros and cons of what each classroom management style is. And we're going to talk about what the research says about each one and the benefits of each one. Now, we're going to start off with the authoritarian style. This is a high level of control by the teacher over the classroom with a very low involvement with the students. Now, this type of teacher tends to be very strict and very forceful in enforce his rules, and the decisions are completely created by the teacher. There's no involvement and talk with the students about what's going to be going on. Um, there's pros to this, and that it's effective at establishing boundaries, that there's this clear communication of what's expected of them and what the rules are, and it's very expressed what is expected of these students. And that's important because without this communication, there wouldn't be any structure, and the kids wouldn't know what the behavior was supposed to be in the class. And we know that kids thrive from having structure and from having a routine. So that's a big pro for this type of classroom management style. Now, the cons are that it can create some barriers between the student and the teacher, and morale can suffer because the students don't respect the teacher, don't know the teacher enough. There's not a relationship there. They may be frightened of the teacher. So that's the con of that type of classroom management style. Now, research shows that an authoritarian style, it proves to be ineffective for the students to learn how to interact and be social, like to have social interactions, to be able to have discussions and debates in the class because things are just set into place for them. There's no discussion about what is to happen, and it shows that some inactivity with the students. Now we'll move on to the authoritative style of classroom management. The authoritative style can be called the coaching style. There's a high level of control and also a high level of student involvement. They tend to be firm but fair. They provide positive reinforcement and encourage student involvement, and they're truly invested in their student success. They're consistent and they're collaborative, and they work with the class to figure out what maybe the rules and boundaries are, what the schedule may look like, and they discuss things with the students. The pros for this type of classroom management style is that it allows the students to feel valued. The students may feel heard. It teaches the students cooperation and how to collaborate with each other. It fosters self-motivation. Um, Class is orderly because there is a level of control, and the students trust them and respect them at the same time because they have a relationship with them and they know who they are. They're very invested in these students. It encourages discussion and it increases attentiveness because the kids are invested in this as well. The cons for this type of classroom management style is that it can sometimes blur the lines between teacher and student, which can possibly result in a lack of respect. They can see the teacher more as a friend or as one of them, as a peer, and that could be a con with this type of style. Um, Research shows that authoritative style helps produce students who are more socially competent and more responsible because the classroom not only is set, like the decisions aren't just set by the teacher, but they're set by the students. So they feel the sense of responsibility for the class and for the classroom and in the school. And it gives them this sense of responsibility. And it tends to be seen as one of the best management styles for the classroom. Now we'll move on to the indulgent or laissez-faire style. Or laissez-faire is let it be. Um, it it is a high level of involvement with the students, with low level of control. Um, they tend to prepare for lessons and unable to really direct the students, unable to get that control, that authority over the students. They rarely punish. Students may do what they want. It can be seen as a do your own thing classroom. Um, it's very laid back. The pros are that the teachers are usually very well liked by the students. Students feel comfortable talking to the teacher and they feel safe there. It is definitely a safe environment for them. The teacher, they feel truly cares. Um, the it's effective where students are highly skilled and self-motivated and capable of working on their own. It's a wonderful environment for those type of students that are truly capable of working on their own. The cons are that they tend to get off task. There's a low level of control, which makes lesson delivery unsuccessful at times. Um, when there's this high level of student involvement and student discussion, things can get off topic. And students with lower demands tend to have lower motivation to achieve. Um, it's hard for students to learn socially acceptable behavior when a teacher is so permissive. To not have the control and rules and boundaries, students are more likely to act out and not necessarily behave in the ways that they should. Now, looking at the permissive or indifferent classroom management style, it's a low level of self control and a low level of student involvement. Teachers tend to maybe wing it, not prepare or use the same materials year after year without looking to something new, something more effective. They kind of seem to be just stuck in their place. Um, they know little about the students and aren't as invested in the success of the students. They're there. Um, they can appear uninterested. But the pros to this one is that students may enjoy a lot of freedom. It may be a good environment for older students, for students again who are highly capable and highly motivated on their own, um, to be in this type of environment and to be able to work at their own pace, or to do things the way that they're able to learn. The cons are the lack of structure leads to chaos, which can create anxiety among students. As we said earlier, kids thrive on structure, and especially young children, to not have that structure, they there may be chaos, and they need it to feel secure. They need structure to feel secure, and this discipline and scheduling, because they need to know what's happening next, especially the younger students. Um, so this can chaos can create anxiety, and the anxiety can present itself as negative behavior, as acting out, make an environment that's difficult to to keep children on task, and to as one student acting out and one student with this anxiety and causing chaos can distract the whole rest of the classroom. Um, Research has shown that permissive and the indulgent that we had talked about right before produce students that are immature. They show poor self restraint and exhibit poor leadership skills because they're not taught how to behave. There's this low level of control that doesn't low level of control that doesn't give them the structure that they need in the classroom. Now, choosing a classroom management style that works for you may take some time. It may be bits and pieces of each one, and it may differ from class to class or maybe subject to subject. Something like math, you need something more authoritative or authoritarian, where there's a lot of structure, because math is something that is so structured. But then having a debate class or a writing class, something that is lower levels of control and more student involvement, and being able to have the students freely be able to discuss something and freely be able to be open, um, might be more successful for that subject. Um, you may switch around from time to time to try to figure out what your style is. It may be different based on your personality, your classroom, your students. Each classroom has a different dynamic and may need a different type of teaching style. So you may fit somewhere within all the different styles, and you don't have to be locked into one. I believe that each one of these styles has a place and a purpose. And I guess we'll talk more about that when we get into our discussion threads.